Continuing along, we've done all these problems except for the last two, I and J. We're still looking at finding the domain. Now, in I, we do have a fraction again. So that's going to be our problem, is we have a fraction. And the problem with fractions, and we don't want to get distracted here, is we only care about one part of the fraction. And that's the bottom. And the fact that the bottom can't be 0. We don't care about the top. The top can be 0. The top can be positive, negative, anything you want. All we care is that the bottom cannot be 0. Well, what's on our bottom of our fraction is just the x minus 1. So I don't want that equaling 0. As long as that doesn't equal 0, we are fantastic. So how do I solve this equation? We'll solve it like any normal equation. We'll add 1 to both sides. And what that tells me then is that x can be anything, but it can't be equal to 1. So I can draw a number line. Here's 1. It can be anything before 1, anything after 1, but it can't be 1, so I need to leave a big gaping hole at 1. So the question is, how do I write this out in interval notation? Well, doing the left-hand side first, working my way up to 1, I would start out with negative infinity all the way up to 1. I can't include 1 because of the hole there, so parentheses. And then I'd have to do the right-hand side of the graph, which is the other side here, would start at the 1. Again, I would not be able to include 1 because of the hole there at 1, because we're not equaling 1. Comma, we'd keep on going forever because we have an arrow on that right-hand side off to infinity. Then I'd put my two pieces together with a union, and then that is my final answer for my domain. And what that domain is saying in a fancy way is anything but 1 is good. Anything before 1, anything after 1 is fine, just not 1. That's why the parentheses at 1, we're leaving 1 out. Let's take a look at J. In J, we have a fraction. But notice, where's the x? The x is on the top. The only thing we see on the bottom is a 4. Remember, we're worried about the fact that the bottom can't be equal to 0. Well, if there's a 4 there and no x, that fraction's bottom is never going to equal 0. So even though I have a fraction on this last one, I am not concerned about it. It will never cause me an issue because there is nothing on the bottom, no x's, that I can plug anything in for that will possibly make that denominator 0. My other issue is usually even roots. I don't have any of those at all. So that means I can plug in anything I want. So that means my domain here is, for this last one, negative infinity all the way up to positive infinity. And that's it. Now, I highly, 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 highly recommend that you work on problems like these last few. Jumble them up, practice them, make sure that you know how to find the domain. Because like I said earlier, this is going to pop up on several tests. And if you continue and take college algebra, you will again see it on several more tests in that class. But it's pretty much not going to change. It's the same ideas over and over and over again. That your two issues you're worried about are fractions and even roots.